finance. So let me click on it to make sure y'all see that. It's Google exec on launching the digital wallet. We plan to earn trust, or we plan to earn the people's trust. I don't know how they're gonna plan that. How they gonna earn people's trust when they never have. Like
Right.
everything that they've come out with, everything that they've done. Like every time they come out with a new feature, a new functionality, a new app, the talk of the town is like, yo, they gonna steal your data.
Yeah. It's
Like,
Facebook.
and,
Zuckerberg. He worked with the CIA. That's all.
yeah,
That's all it-
I mean that's all. As like, there is no platform that is more known to be inside your business than Facebook. The next one is Google, but like Facebook is it, and half of it is because we have open dialogue on Facebook. So like all these conversations that used to be private, AB conversations, see your way out. Now it's like C is Facebook. C is sitting there
See
around the
where you're on
corner,
Facebook.
I mean, with a microphone and a tape deck, listening, just making sure they know what's going on so they can send an ad to you. But like now, they want to, they for the past little while, like maybe like a year and a half, 2 years, they've been talking about Libra, trying to get into the whole cryptocurrency thing.
Yeah.
Kind of fell short for a while. They had the Libra organization. It was some type of foundation organization where Libra was the cryptocurrency, and they were trying to get at least, I think they said at least 100 other businesses, other online entities, like eBay or, probably not Amazon, but like, other, Shopify, something like that, to actually also take the Libra coins, and they were going to make these digital wallets that ran Libra. And, there was other companies that could create wallets that use Libra, but they were going to try to be the original foundation for Libra. And it was a big thing where they need to put a pot of money up because, to start any type of financial currency or whatever, you got to have some type of backing. So
right, it has to be backed by something. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were going to look for like 100 other companies that could put money into the pot to start the Libra thing going, and try to run it like that.
It's like I feel like just in the idea. So, we live in America where according to, I believe it was after 1970. Uh, I know I gotta get my history right. I know that. Let me see, in the 1919s. Bear with me here, y'all. Like, I know it was like 1919, something that wrote the whole. I think the IRS and Social Security was divided out. But you see a long-standing history with America that we are as a nation resourceless. Our dollar is quote unquote backed by the blood and sweat of the people. I forgot where where I heard that quote.
They keep trying to say gold, but I ain't seen no gold.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely that's gone. Like you see, if you look at some of the older dollars, like before 1970, it was like, this is a silver dollar note, or like this is a gold dollar note. Where that's not on the money now. So I feel like where I was going with this is that the idea of a company, a U.S. based company, trying to establish a currency and back it by companies whose currency or their money and how they exchange it is backed by something that is essentially non-existent. I feel like they were kind of bound to have a little bit of topsy-turviness there. And it's I was going to ask Mike is that if you look at all of these things that, and this is I want to know your opinion on this, dude. Like when you look at these technologies, right? That whether it be within like the whole blockchain, and then cryptocurrency, all the cryptocurrencies on the rise, or even just these technology companies that like all these companies seem to be birthed from like a select few people who had an idea and pushed, and emptied a lot of their intellectual, what I want to call it, their intellectual bandwidth and money into these things to bring it into fruition. It wasn't necessarily pushed by like a corporation or a group of corporations. Like in you look at, for instance, with Quibi, that's probably the latest version of a company that was the latest example of a company that was supposedly, I think they invested like over $1 billion into it, and then it flopped in 8 months.
Yeah.
So the question I have to you was like,
about Roku.
right? You know what I'm saying? So do you think that the idea of companies coming together to establish something like some technology like this is just bound to flop, or do you think they can really pull something off? Because the way that I feel history tells it is that typically what happens is a select few people come up with something and then a corporation grabs a hold of it, right? Versus a bunch of corporations coming together to create something and the people actually get, grabbing a hold to it. What do you think?
I mean, usually just well, sort of like what happening in China right now is, you know, companies will start to do something, and then once they see that it start having like a mass adoption, the government will come in and shut that shit down.
Yeah, that's
They'll be like, no, we need to be have our, and we need our, people in on this. Like, if y'all gonna be making money, we gotta get our percentage.
yeah,
And we gotta have regulations and laws about this, because y'all messing our whole system up. We had our citizens control,
right. Ain't no
and y'all
damn
trying
free
to free.
enterprise over here.
Yeah. like like we need to be in on this. So, like, I mean, the same thing would happen with, if they were trying to do this with like an Americanized company. And Facebook is trying to make this a global thing. They're trying to push this,
Yeah,
international. So,
yeah,
there's the international currency, effectively. That's not going to fly with the U.S. government, like, not without having regulations in place. Like, it's already bad enough. Like, all right, thanks, Sam. It's already bad enough, the amount of power that Facebook had, and that was part of the issue. Is like Facebook was trying to push this in the middle of like the damage that was done in the past 4 or 5 years, with how Facebook had a lot of influence on politics and on economics.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
they had the whole thing with, they didn't have any type of regulation on political ads.
yeah,
So people was
yeah,
out there just pushing, just saying anything.
yeah, just saying anything. I mean, sending any type of agenda. I mean, then you want to put money behind this. You want to have the current system that is so messed up that you got people thinking in conspiracies, believing in QAnon. I mean, like, you want to put this same system into like our currency and into our transaction platform, and turn this so that people can just buy anything or spend money on anything. Um, and internationally, I mean, we don't know, we got like international trade laws, like, Interpol, and any type of thing that we deal with, like, what is the term? It's trade, but it's like, the FTC has to get involved in these type of things. Um,
Yeah.
Even like, like, because you can spend money on human trafficking. That's what was
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
whole company, Silk Road, the website that was on Tor, the Tor network, a long time ago, where they were selling women and rocket launchers
Yeah.
using Bitcoin. I mean,
Yeah.
like, that's basically what Facebook can become if there's no regulation for how they deal with their currency transactions. Like, if it's just private companies and there's no government entities that's involved, that means there's no like legal system involved, and there's
Right.
no law enforcement involved. I mean, for America, we got the judicial, the legislative, and the executive branch. None of that is involved if you're talking about doing these international, currency formats, using like cryptocurrency essentially.
Mm.
Um, and if it's an international thing, that means all these other companies, all these other countries that have companies investing in them, have to be a part of it too. So, like, if
Yeah.
it's a Huawei, or if it's some type of Chinese company, that means China has to get involved, and they not feeling that. Yeah, I mean, they not going to feel that. The only country that would probably feel that is something like Russia, because they got a lot of, they really loose with their laws. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly. Yeah, yeah. This
they
is,
allow a
I
lot
said,
of stuff to fly.
Russia is a although they have it's interesting. Russia's interesting because they have, I feel like the country in itself is what's unique about the culture is that there tends to be like a togetherness, like a universal like a group thing,
Hmm.
right? There, when it comes to their laws, it's like a lot of frontier justice. It's
Yeah.
not like there's no time of running and like you think about how involved our government is. It's like theirs is not like that. Like I feel like even to a degree, like let's say that we have a bunch of known hackers, right, that just constantly are wreaking havoc in other countries.
Hmm.
Like our government, or at least in the public eye, will be quick to chastise them and try to enforce some type of some type of consequence on those hackers that's doing malicious things. Whereas though Russia, they're just known for just like hacking shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's they're kind of just like, at the end, hey, just make your shit more secure.
Right. Yeah,
That's,
we can't do anything about this. Well, what do you expect us to do? You want us to go arrest them? What do we
what I
look
mean? We
like?
can't monitor everybody.
Like, we're not the US. We can't try to look over everybody. But like, yeah, man, like that's what it would be. It would be a state of lawlessness if like tomorrow we could just turn Facebook into a bank and everybody could just put their money into it and trust that. It had to be these 200 company or these 100 other companies that's invested into it, because they would all have to, have a say in it. But at the end of the day, Facebook has enough money where they could just pour more money into the pot to have more of a say. So they would control things, and they don't really control stuff well. Like, you got to remember, like, Facebook isn't like comprised of like people that have been around for millennia. Yeah, millennia. I don't think anybody around for millennia, but for at least like a couple years. These people mostly like our age.
Their culture is not something that's been established over hundreds of years.
I don't trust people from my demographic on the same level that I'm on to come up with a full currency system that can be managed by the world. I mean, that can be sustained internationally.
I'm following you. Yeah.
I mean, I need somebody that at least been through like 5 depressions.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. That like the culture of the people who run Facebook is not as like the depth of it is not as
they idealistic.
It's just what makes, for instance, why people have trust in America, like the country, is because of how the history. It's a combination of the education of the history, as well as what we know about the things that America has or perceivably has accomplished, and by doing so, they've been able to establish, even if people don't like America, they trust in the financial system, right? They trust in the laws that because of just the tenure that the entity, the country has. It's been around for some time, versus like Facebook is, to some degree, some people would say it's still established. The roots are established in sand because of how technology is. And that's why I think that it's getting, by doing so, like Facebook trying to be establish that footprint, it can become very volatile, because like you said, those folks like within our demographic, I mean, we come from a demographic. This is already kind of a little bit, most people would say on like the other the other, what do you call it, people before us would say is a little bit on edge, the quote unquote millennials, right? We were part of watching the transition from going to no very little internet usage to dial up to now the real information bone, and then everything kind of go, so we come from that whole, like, we've been on both sides. So to say that we then will try to go about establishing some type of some law that would regulate the world, right, when a lot of us, especially with the how the internet is now, we develop most people develop their perspective of what of right and wrong based off of where they live versus what the world is actually going through. You may find a situation where I think that some people it can be a lot of polarity there, where some people may become too benevolent, and then some people may become like too repulsive in their like oversight of things. You know what I mean? So I think that but at the end of the day, I think that's what the push is that you have these and I think that's what they're trying to establish with the whole like Libra initiative, is by having corporations from people who are seasoned, that come from different backgrounds, different time periods, try to put together some type of standard that you feel like the law can go by. But I think what will happen is that we'll start to have a true battle between the law and which people really don't know, like they don't take notice to it, but the governments are actually backed by the people, right? Like the people actually establish these things, especially within a democratic, a democratic environment, right? So the people is it really become truly a battle of the people versus the corporations, because you'll have it where, let's say even now, like let's say that for whatever reason, Google just decides to, they got their bread, they opting out of the internet, like
Mhm.
the type of shambles that would leave the internet in. And like with our government, with a lot of our people being dependent upon with Google, like Google's, like I was saying before, the amenities that they offer, and the Google says we're not going to cut our stuff back on until the government does X, Y, and Z. Then we have a whole. It's like it becomes, then we go back into the movies. What I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of things we've seen. So, I mean, it's I think what we see with these corporations that they kind of like are testing that and pushing against that. And one of these days, we actually may see where that takes place, where one of these corporations are just like, you know what, enough of, America has a population of what, 330 or 350 million people. 250 million of them use our services. We're cutting it off, and we're not going to cut it back on until we get this and these amenities from the government.
Yeah.
You
I
know what I
mean,
mean? Where we land.
just this little bit right here. It reads that Navi, which is the platform that they essentially call it. It used to be Libra, but Navi is being launched in conjunction with the launch of Diem, a pending cryptocurrency project from Facebook that initially became known to the public in 2018. The project, originally called Libra, faced a number of setbacks in 2019. Financial giants like MasterCard and Visa abandoned the project, which is, exactly the issue. It's like they're going to these companies and, they're coming up with these financial systems, this structure for coming up with a new financial system. And the companies aren't agreeing to it. They want to have their own say on it. Why aren't they going to like the UN? You know what I mean? Like, why aren't you going to the actual governance of these locations and saying we're trying to actually do an international currency that is available everywhere? They're going to these private entities because they know they're able to, work around the system.
They're able to barter something, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, in a lot of cases, all it's going to do is come back to some type of taxation system, where civilians are going to have to end up paying the tax to the governments. They're trying to avoid having to pay that money to the government themselves. So they try to bypass that, make like this bucket of money by these private entities and have all the money be dealt with in a private manner. And that way you don't have to necessarily deal with the government entities at all. You don't have to deal with the banks. And that becomes a problem. Facebook ain't the company for that. I mean, like,
yeah,
maybe Apple. People have a lot of trust in Apple.
True.
Maybe Google. I mean, possibly, Amazon and Facebook, but not.
Man,
I mean, Amazon
really,
and Microsoft, but not
I
Facebook.
would say, really, if you want to see like if you were to put a list of corporations that will more than likely be able to establish something like that, I would say it would be Microsoft out of all of the
Yeah.
Because although Amazon has their footprint when it comes to consumerism, they're known. They're most people who buy stuff from Amazon don't really take notice that Amazon does have a digital footprint. It's growing,
Mhm.
but it's just not within the minds of the people off of there. So Microsoft is just the name in itself. We have Microsoft versus, you think about Microsoft versus Apple. Apple, of course, they have their indoctrination methods, right? They have their loyal, their cult following.
Mhm.
At the same time, Microsoft has with the people, they've been able to establish themselves as more of a government entity in itself. So because of that, I think if they were to go about trying to establish something like that, they would probably get more traction, because the thing is too, you don't really hear too much like Microsoft being in trouble with stuff. Like Facebook over the past
Yeah.
5 years has had Zuckerberg. We didn't see the pictures of him looking crazy in court. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff. So it's like Facebook has been under fire for some time, when it comes to just their regulations and their practices, especially when it comes to their whole, you don't really hear like Microsoft being in any trouble about people being able to push their political agenda and then them not saying anything about it.
Yeah, because they already had their ass taxed. Yeah, I mean, with the
Right.
whole what was the antitrust case back in like 2000, they basically want to break them up. Yeah, I mean, so they already had their, you know, their spanking for real. So they act right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's a mature company. Yeah, I mean, Facebook is an immature company. I mean, it's no way you can have a company that just came out like 15 years ago, 16 years ago.
Pretty much, yeah, 15, yeah.
Try to take over the world with their financial currency system. Like, you need a company that's established, that's been around for like 40 years. I mean, he got a wife and 2 kids. I mean, as a company, I mean, they got them things together. I mean, understand what's going on. I don't trust Facebook. You can't trust Facebook. You can't trust Zuckerberg. And, and that's just all it is to it. Like, maybe 10 more years. I mean, Facebook continue doing this thing, doing this slow grind. We see the more human side of Zuckerberg. Yeah, I mean, he go in an interview and cry somewhere on television. Yeah, I mean, humanize him. Yeah, I mean,
I think the only thing that happened where Facebook is able to even think about making power moves like this is because the way the statistics goes is they say that I think it have 1 billion daily active users.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about, they have at this point what I think is 1/7 of the world on their platform every day. That is a little bit of, they're able to bargain something, right? Like with the, all over the world. So I think they try to statistically that may they feel like that gives them the edge to be able to move and shake the way they do. But then, like
I always say about maybe 500,000, 500 million, because
500 million.
I mean, the numbers say 1 billion, but I know damn near everybody got 2 accounts. I know everybody got 2 accounts.
yeah, so that's true. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, I think that they are what you see what's happening is like we established with I guess the first article we was talking about how we are when it comes to cell phones, we've been beta testing these corporations, Facebook in particular this time, I think it's just like beta testing the idea of deregulated currency and then controlling, different countries and continents with this. They're just in the beta testing stage. And one of these companies, whether it be, you never know, it can be several companies, these big corporations coming together to establish something to create that reality for them. I think that's pretty much where it's going to go. My projection, my prophecy is that you're going to see while we in this tech cold war, it may go on for like another 20 years, and then when we probably like in our 80s or some shit, these corporations, you're going to see the headline: Microsoft, Amazon, and Apple become one entity.
Yeah.
Then we in some deep shit there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I hope to make it 80. But at the same time, I don't want to see any of those companies running anything beyond what they're doing right now. Like, I like them as companies.
Yeah.
I mean, I like them as an option. I mean, when it start becoming these things where there's no choice, and it's already kind of that way. Like I said earlier, like if you don't use technology, you kind of stuck in the 70s. But you got a choice on like what technology you use. When they start fully becoming like partners again, because right now they all in competition. When they start becoming partners again, and it's like, no matter what you go to, you're basically getting the same thing.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes a real problem because they all in agreement that they all going to screw us over.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm not for that personally.
It's the same type of screwage, man.
Yeah. Like right now they competing for who can screw us over. So it's like, who can screw you over less is the likelihood of the company that you go to. But when they all in agreement, when everything is on the same level, I mean, and they all on the same plane, then it's basically, it's just, you get screwed every angle. So I ain't for that. Yeah. It is what it is. It's going to happen because, society just moves to its own doom. And I ain't mean to break down the, bring the vibe. I ain't mean to kill none of y'all vibes out there. But it is what it is. But anyway, yeah, man. I think this is the end of the show.
We can go forever about this joint.
Yeah, we can for real. I mean, but if y'all like the show, I mean, you know what to do. I haven't been really marketing it too much, but find us on all the platforms. You're gonna see a lot more of this stuff coming in. Facebook, Instagram. It sounds like I'm really far when I talk over here, but I talk over here is perfect. But I mean, we on Instagram, we on Facebook, we on Twitter. lightly on Twitter, not too heavy on Twitter, a little bit on Twitter. But you can find all the podcasts on any one of your podcast streaming services. So if you got Spotify, iTunes, Google, trying to get Amazon, that's the hardest one to get because of Alexa, and Stitcher, and that's another one. You just Google us, you'll find us. Go to bohemia.media, you'll find us. We got more stuff coming, man. Anything you want to say, man? Say that.
Nah, man, just you know, you hit the nail on the head. Y'all can follow us in all of the social media platforms, the podcast platforms. We're there. We will continue to be there, and just gonna keep the shit popping, man. But that's all I got on my end, Mike.
Yeah, man. Y'all take it easy out there. Be safe, and tune in to the next one. Till then, it's Mike B.
Michael Omari.
Yeah. Mike Omari. Yeah, man. I done basically gave out my whole government, right? Yeah, man. It is what it is. Miguel Penegdero. I'm out.
Peace.
Peace.